What if I told you that the biggest barrier to your ambitions has nothing to do with external obstacles, but is rooted instead in the small, daily acts of delay you habitually perform? A moment's hesitation here, a postponed task there, and suddenly you find your goals drifting out of reach. We live in an age where opportunities flood our screens, yet procrastination remains rampant. People yearn to break free of it, but they often fail, blaming poor willpower or chaos in their schedule. The truth is more nuanced. Procrastination is a mindset trap, one that can be unraveled by adopting an ancient, time-tested approach. Today, I want to share precisely how Stoic philosophy and a few practical insights from kindred traditions can help you conquer your habit of delay, so you can stop putting life on hold and start living fully. Now, if you are new here, please like the video and subscribe. Statistics show that only 15% of my audience is subscribed to the channel, so if this content has helped you in any way, I ask you to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Consider what's at stake. Every time you defer that crucial step toward your dream, every time you avoid a necessary conversation or skip a vital routine, you weaken your inner discipline. The cumulative effect is staggering. Days turn into months, and a sense of unfulfilled potential gnaws at your spirit. It doesn't matter whether your goals revolve around career, personal growth, relationships, or health. Procrastination burrows into them all, dimming the spark of momentum. But it doesn't have to be this way. Imagine waking each morning with a guiding principle that cuts through excuses, a mental framework that prompts immediate, purposeful action. That's the promise of Stoicism, a shift in mindset that lets you seize the day instead of letting it slip by. And why trust this approach? Because it isn't mere theory or self-help hype. It stems from centuries of real-world application, from Roman emperors like Marcus Aurelius, who bore the weight of empire without succumbing to inertia, from Epictetus, who rose from enslavement to become one of history's most influential teachers, from Seneca, who navigated imperial politics and taught that life's brevity demands decisive action. I've spent years absorbing and applying these teachings, distilling them into manageable steps for the modern world. In this conversation, I'll relay how you can harness their timeless wisdom to banish procrastination and spark renewed vitality in your daily life. Here's our roadmap. First, we'll ground ourselves in the fundamental Stoic principles that reveal why procrastination festers in the mind and how to uproot it. Next, we'll illustrate how a few key mental shifts, centered on self-discipline, focus, and acceptance, can flip your habit of delay on its head. Finally, we'll map out practical routines that integrate these Stoic ideas into your routine, forging a lifestyle that resists procrastination's lure and unleashes your full potential. If you remain with me to the end, you'll possess not just an intellectual understanding, but actionable steps to stop procrastinating and begin living with purpose. A Stoic elder's voice, setting the stage for transformation. Come with me into a tranquil setting. Imagine the soft hush of dawn light filtering through an open doorway, revealing a study lined with weathered scrolls. In the center stands a table bearing an ancient text. There, an elder sits, calm despite the early hour, eyes reflecting the gentleness of someone who has wrestled with life's challenges and gleaned something worthwhile. As you approach, he motions for you to join him. With the faintest smile, he begins in a measured tone. Procrastination, an invisible chain that shackles so many. We look at the horizon of our life, our possibilities, and we vow to make progress tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes next week, next month, next year. Before we know it, entire seasons slip away. Why does this pattern repeat across the cultures and ages? The Stoics would answer, because we fail to recognize the fleeting nature of time and the power of our own agency. We linger in illusions, thinking we have ample room to delay, or that we must wait for the perfect moment. Meanwhile, we starve the resolve needed to seize the present. In my younger days, I was quite skilled at justifying delays. I'd say, I need more research before starting this project, or I'm not in the right frame of mind. I'll do it later. My library was full of half-read books, my drafts half-finished, my dreams half-committed. Over time, I saw that each unacted intention slowly drained my self-confidence. One day, rummaging through the words of Seneca, I read something that stirred me deeply. While we wait for life, life passes. From that moment, I realized postponement is not a harmless pause. It's a quiet draining of our most precious resource, time. The question, then, is how to break free from this slow drain. That's what I hope to show you. You might assume that to conquer procrastination, you need only stern discipline or better scheduling. And yes, those help. But Stoicism invites a deeper shift, a transformation in how you see each moment. The root problem is not poor scheduling, but an unchecked pattern of avoidance and misplaced priorities. If you weave Stoic reflections into your daily routine, reminding yourself of mortality, focusing on what is in your control, letting go of perfectionism that hides behind excuses, your mindset shifts from idle waiting to purposeful action. You stop deferring life until tomorrow, and instead embrace today's tasks as stepping stones toward your vision. Now, you may wonder, why Stoicism specifically when countless self-help guides promise anti-procrastination tips? Stoicism addresses not just the symptom of delay, but its deeper causes: fear, indecision, pride, or the illusion of limitless time. The Stoics taught a forthright approach to every moment, encouraging us to do what needs to be done with clarity and moral alignment. For them, procrastination was not simply a time management flaw, but a moral and philosophical failing, a refusal to own the present. By reclaiming that ownership, you transform your entire approach to life, forging an unbreakable discipline that resonates far beyond any single task. In the pages or moments ahead, I'll share how to apply these truths concretely. We'll examine the mindset that fosters procrastination, unraveling it through Stoic logic. We'll walk through daily practices like morning reflection, micro deadlines, and self-inquiry that sharpen your capacity to act swiftly on what matters. And we'll see how acceptance of fate merges with the responsibility of choice to create a life where delay no longer holds sway. I will not promise instant miracles, but I do promise that if you heed these principles, you'll see real shifts within days: less dithering, more resolve, a lighter heart when facing tasks. Over months, you could look back and wonder how you ever lived shackled by postponement. So let us begin. For though dawn might seem endless, we know the sun arcs quickly, and each day is a finite chance to align our deeds with our ideals. Let us not be the ones who greet opportunity with maybe tomorrow. Instead, let us be men and women of purposeful action, guided by a Stoic calm that resists the illusions of fear or laziness. In the next breath, we shall root ourselves in the fundamental Stoic perspective, ensuring we have the bedrock from which to topple procrastination's hold. At that, the elder rests his hands on the table, inviting you to lean in, opening your mind to the lessons that follow. The hush in the room feels charged, as though a threshold is about to be crossed. You accept the challenge, to unlearn the habit of delay, to discover new vigor in each passing day, to stop procrastinating, and truly start living. This is where our introduction ends, and the deeper journey begins. Stoic Foundations, addressing the mindset of delay. To dismantle procrastination, we must identify its internal roots. Often, we delay because a task intimidates us, or because we crave the fleeting comfort of postponement. Underneath lie fears of failure, of imperfection, of the unknown. The Stoics recognized these fears as products of unexamined judgments. Marcus Aurelius would remind himself, if something is humanly possible, consider it within your reach. Epictetus stressed that our anxiety about the future arises from trying to control outcomes not fully ours to command. We hide from the tension by deferring. Meanwhile, the tension never dissolves. It grows, overshadowing our day with a vague sense of dread. Thus, Stoic practice means reversing this dynamic. We systematically identify what aspects of a task we can control, like our willingness to begin, our attitude, or how much time we allocate, and what remains uncertain, like the final outcome or others' reactions. By focusing on the former and releasing attachment to the latter, we reduce the emotional weight that fuels procrastination. Instead of feeling the entire project as an insurmountable monolith, we see it as a series of small, controllable steps. This perspective, repeated each morning, can pierce the illusions that feed our inertia. But we must also address the illusions about future plenty. Procrastination thrives on the belief that tomorrow or next week is safer, calmer, more ideal. Stoics like Seneca fiercely countered this, reminding us of life's brevity and unpredictability. If we truly grasp that our days are limited, the logic of indefinite postponement unravels. The present moment, though imperfect, becomes our best chance to act. Each day's tasks, once seen as burdens, become precious rungs in the ladder of personal progress. This shift in temporal awareness is crucial. You no longer say, "I'll do it later," but if it's worth doing, it's worth starting now. The Stoic doesn't wait for perfect conditions, for they know real conditions rarely match fantasies. They do what they can with what they have, and trust that clarity emerges from action, not from indefinite waiting. Let me share an anecdote from a student who once sought my counsel. A talented writer named Livius, he had a half-finished manuscript, neglected for years. He kept telling himself he would resume when inspiration struck. He believed that time was ample, that someday he'd be more motivated or less busy. But as the months blurred by, his guilt grew. We spoke about Seneca's reminder that we often do not realize we are dying daily. Livius took that to heart, spending a morning forcibly writing a single page, even without the spark of inspiration. Surprised at how words eventually began to flow, he continued the next day. Week by week, finishing that manuscript became a daily discipline, not a vague future aspiration. Livius realized that later never arrived on its own. He had to create now. This story encapsulates Stoicism's stance. We break procrastination by acknowledging mortality, focusing on what's within our immediate grasp, and daring to begin. Imperfectly, if need be, but wholeheartedly. Confronting perfectionism, a hidden face of procrastination. A potent factor behind procrastination is perfectionism, an insistence on ideal results that leads us to avoid starting until everything is just right. Stoicism unravels this by teaching that perfection in external outcomes is rarely within our control, and thus not a rational basis for action. The Stoic aims for excellence in effort, not in guaranteed success. That subtle but powerful distinction frees you from the paralysis of, I must get it perfect or not do it at all. Consider someone wanting to launch a small business or a creative project. If they wait until they've mastered every skill and tested every variable, they'll never begin. But a Stoic viewpoint says, plan sufficiently, accept risk, and step forward. If mistakes arise, you adapt. This continuous learning, ironically, yields better final results than months of hypothetical planning. Perfectionism is an avoidance strategy disguised as high standards. Stoicism, by emphasizing practical virtue over unattainable flawlessness, unshackles you to take iterative steps. Liberating self-compassion in a Stoic frame. While Stoicism appears rigorous, it also quietly fosters self-compassion, another antidote to procrastination. Often, when we fail to do something on time, we chastise ourselves harshly, which fuels a cycle of avoidance. The Stoic approach is to evaluate missteps calmly, saying, I erred in delaying, but now I choose to correct course. This balanced acceptance prevents the negativity spiral that leads to more postponement. Each day, you give yourself permission to start anew, letting past lapses remain as learning tools rather than sources of shame. This gentle self-talk might sound unstoic at first glance, but indeed, Stoics recognized that destructive self-criticism can hamper moral progress. Instead, they called for measured reflection, followed by renewed commitment. In practice, this means if you procrastinate one day, you do not wallow. You reflect briefly on why, then vow to do better tomorrow. Over time, that stance fosters consistent improvement rather than guilt-laden paralysis. The 5 pillars of anti-procrastination strategy. We have laid out the philosophical backbone: awareness of mortality, focus on control, acceptance of imperfection, and a constructive approach to errors. Now, let us weave them into a tangible structure that can guide your daily battle against procrastination. Picture these as pillars that support the roof of your Stoic discipline. Pillar 1. Morning resolve. Upon waking, remind yourself that this day is finite. You might adopt a short phrase: I have but one life, and I honor it with decisive action. Then identify the 1 or 2 tasks you are most tempted to delay, mentally affirming you will start them, if only for a short burst, before day's end. Setting these micro goals aligns with Stoic clarity. You do not attempt to solve everything, just the crucial steps within your domain. Pillar 2. Structured intervals. Rather than attempting a massive task in one sitting, break it into intervals. Epictetus taught focusing on the immediate chunk of work. If you keep your horizon short, you reduce the mental excuses that come from overthinking the entirety. Every interval completed is a small victory, reinforcing momentum rather than dread. This micro approach wards off the illusions of, I'll do it all later. Pillar 3. The pause for virtue. Before starting a potentially daunting task, recall a Stoic virtue. Courage, for example. Center on how courage means acting despite discomfort. In that pause, you see the bigger reason for pushing forward. You are training your character, not just finishing a to-do. This moral framing elevates the mundane into a test of resolve. angling your effort as practice in Stoic virtue often dissolves trivial excuses. Pillar 4. Daily reflection. Each evening, review how well you tackled or postponed tasks. Did you yield to inertia? If so, identify the cause. Was it fear, perfectionism, or simply letting immediate gratification, like social media, override your plan? Note it without self-condemnation. Plan a remedy for tomorrow. Maybe a stricter time limit on distractions or an earlier start. Over days, these small corrections accumulate into a robust anti-procrastination habit. Pillar 5. Focus on gains, not gaps. Finally, adopt a grateful stance toward the progress. In Stoic terms, recognize what you did accomplish, rather than lamenting what remains undone. This positive reinforcement fosters motivation. If you tackled half of a tough project, celebrate that half. Momentum thrives on noticing how far you've come. This Stoic cheerfulness is not naive positivity. It is an acknowledgement that each step forward is significant in a fleeting life. By focusing on gains, you fuel the psychological impetus to keep going. A story of overcoming procrastination through Stoic practice. To bring these pillars alive, let me recount a tale of an old acquaintance, Marcellus. A gifted musician, he dreamed of recording an album that fused ancient melodies with modern flair. Yet he kept deferring serious work on it, blaming busy schedules, incomplete research, or the need for perfect equipment. Years slipped by with no album. Then he stumbled upon Stoic teachings, particularly the notion of memento mori, reminding him he would not live forever, and the emphasis on immediate action. Marcellus began each morning by reciting to himself, "If I do not record these songs now, I may never." He then carved out short, structured sessions in his makeshift studio, focusing on a single track or even a single verse each time. Before playing, he paused to invoke temperance, checking that his desire for flawless recordings wasn't hindering his willingness to experiment. By day's end, he reflected, praising the progress made rather than lamenting the perfection he had not achieved. Over the months, the album took form, piece by piece. Had he waited for a perfect environment, that dream might have stayed locked in his mind forever. Observing Marcellus, one sees how a Stoic approach not only solves procrastination, but can also spark creativity. Freed from the illusions of perfect readiness and unbounded time, he engaged each session with focus and gratitude. This synergy is precisely what Stoicism can yield in any domain, from a grand creative project to routine daily chores. The power to face tasks head-on, free of excuses, anchored by moral clarity about the fleeting nature of life. Minimizing distractions. Stoic tips for the digital age. While the ancients did not face our modern digital onslaught, their guidance on external noise still applies. The incessant pull of notifications, social feeds, or trivial online browsing can be a prime enabler of procrastination. Stoics would counsel regulating these distractions deliberately. You might designate offline blocks, periods each day when you silence your devices or keep them out of reach. If you use a computer for work, limit open tabs to the task at hand, resisting curiosity. This is an exercise in self-control, a cardinal Stoic virtue. Each time your mind drifts, you gently bring it back, reaffirming your commitment to the present task. Over time, you fortify your mental discipline, akin to training a muscle. The Stoic elder would say, "Your mind is not the world's dumping ground. You choose what enters, and if you allow every ping and beep to intrude, you've relinquished your sovereignty." Another approach is to see each digital interaction as a micro-choice. Is this feeding or eroding my focus? If it's not necessary or nourishing, the Stoic inclination is to decline it. This might seem austere at first, but once you taste the clarity that emerges from reduced digital clutter, you appreciate it. Procrastination shrinks when your environment no longer teems with tempting diversions. Freed from 1,000 trivial impulses, you channel your energy into genuine tasks, completing them swiftly enough to enjoy well-earned leisure afterward. Harnessing accountability without dependency. Some modern advice suggests accountability partners or public commitments. Stoicism, while not opposed to these, warns against over-reliance. If you can only act when someone else pushes you, you remain externally driven. A Stoic aims for internal impetus. Nevertheless, a short-term accountability setup can help break initial inertia. The key is to see it as scaffolding, not the permanent structure. Once you establish momentum, transition to self-accountability. If a friend or mentor cheers you on, that's a bonus. But your devotion to action should primarily stem from your Stoic realization that time is short, and your virtue calls you to do what you must. This self-reliant stance fosters unwavering discipline, even when no one is watching. Integrating procrastination-fighting strategies into Stoic routines. By now, you have gleaned multiple tools and viewpoints: awareness of mortality, micro-steps, acceptance over perfectionism, mindful conversation with your fears, and so on. How do you merge them into a sustainable routine? Consider structuring your day around Stoic anchors: a brief morning reflection, a midday check, and an evening review. In the morning, vow to tackle your top tasks, especially those you might otherwise dodge, by applying micro-intervals and moral framing. At midday, pause to see if distractions have derailed you. Adjust your plan as needed. By evening, reflect on your progress, analyzing how you overcame or succumbed to the urge to delay. This cyclical method ensures you never drift too far from Stoic discipline. Each day becomes a mini journey in conquering procrastination. Over weeks, your brain reshapes its default mode from avoidance to purposeful engagement. Rejuvenating leisure. Stoic views on rest and breaks. One misconception is that a total war on procrastination means no leisure. Stoics would correct that. Rest is vital, but it must be deliberate, not a sneaky form of avoidance. True leisure recharges you physically, mentally, or creatively. Procrastination, on the other hand, is restless, guilty, and lacks direction. If you find yourself resting yet feeling uneasy or ashamed, it may be that you're just running from tasks. The Stoic approach is to plan downtime after completing key responsibilities, enjoying it wholeheartedly without guilt. This structured approach prevents your breaks from merging into indefinite postponements. Leisure thus transforms from a thief of time into a healthy part of balanced living, earned and celebrated. Handling relapse, Stoic resilience. When old habits return, even with a solid Stoic practice, old procrastination habits can resurface in stressful periods. That's normal. Stoics accept the ebb and flow of human behavior. The key is quick recovery. If you spend a day or two backsliding, the Stoic does not spiral into shame but calmly reasserts discipline. You remind yourself that each slip is a lesson in humility. Perhaps you discover a new hidden fear or an unaddressed assumption about needing more time. You adapt your plan accordingly. maybe reinforcing your morning vow or reintroducing intervals. This cyclical improvement pattern gradually cements your resilience, ensuring that no single relapse topples your entire framework. Over time, your orchard's defenses grow sturdier, and procrastination finds fewer cracks to exploit. A final anecdote: the transformation of an ordinary life. Let me close with a composite tale reflecting many real individuals I've encountered. Call him Flavius, an everyman who for years juggled a moderate job, some personal aspirations, but continually found excuses not to pursue them. He convinced himself the timing was off. He needed more money, better health, a calmer family situation, etc. Each year ended with a sense of regret. Then, reading Stoic passages, he awakened to the notion of ephemeral existence. How long will I wait? He wondered. He began small, deciding to exercise thrice weekly, scheduling short windows for a personal project. Using Stoic reflection, he confronted the fear that if he failed, his ego would bruise. Accepting imperfection, he forged ahead. Over months, these modest steps snowballed. He discovered that completing tasks early freed mental space for creativity. Soon, he was volunteering for tasks at work he once avoided, building a reputation for reliability. At home, he replaced dithering with immediate small actions, like fixing a broken shelf or planning a family event, earning trust and admiration from loved ones. Gradually, his entire outlook changed from someday to today, from drifting to directed. That shift, while subtle day by day, was profound over a year. It wasn't magic, he still had off days, but the Stoic lens helped him bounce back. He no longer saw procrastination as a personality trait, but as a habit dissolvable by consistent choice. Reflecting on Flavius's example, one sees how an ordinary life, once rife with postponement, can bloom into purposeful living under Stoic guidance. That is the potential waiting for anyone who steps beyond mere tips or hacks and embraces a philosophical realignment. Indeed, many who adopt Stoic discipline find themselves not just conquering procrastination, but tackling other negative habits or mental blocks, forging a more cohesive life philosophy. Conclusion: a future freed from delay. We have traversed a winding path, from diagnosing why procrastination persists, through Stoic core principles, to practical anti-delay pillars, culminating in glimpses of real transformation. The question now is whether you will let these insights remain a pleasant notion or put them into action. Stoicism beckons you to choose the latter. For all the examples and analogies, the real test occurs each day in the quiet moments where you decide whether to begin a task or defer it yet again. Each such moment is a chance to assert your Stoic commitment, to remind yourself that time is short, that virtue demands engagement, and that perfectionism or fear can no longer hold you captive. Thus, let me challenge you. Pick one important task you have been postponing. Apply the micro-interval approach, define a short window to start, and anchor yourself in a Stoic virtue, courage or resolve. When that sneaky voice says, "tomorrow," you respond, "No, this day is enough. For as long as it lasts, I will do what I can." Then you act, even if the act is small. Continue that momentum daily, reflect at night, refine your method. Soon, you will see how the Stoic path to self-discipline does more than just slay the beast of procrastination. It opens a richer engagement with life, where each day's tasks serve a moral and personal purpose, not a dull burden. In parting, recall that procrastination is neither an unbreakable habit nor a mysterious curse. It is, at core, a set of choices influenced by illusions about time and perfection. Stoicism sweeps these illusions aside by grounding you in reality. Time is finite, action belongs to you, and virtue blossoms only through daily effort. Armed with these truths, you can step into tomorrow, or indeed into the next hour, prepared to do what must be done. No more drifting, no more empty promises to yourself. With stoic calm, you seize the day, forging a life shaped by deliberate deeds rather than indefinite delay. That, my friend, is how you stop procrastinating and truly start living, rooted in philosophy, propelled by unwavering resolve. May your orchard thrive, each moment a testament to the power of timely action, guided by the still voice of Stoic wisdom. What if, despite your best intentions to conquer procrastination, you still sense a hidden, deeper resistance that keeps you from acting on your ambitions? You've grasped some basic Stoic principles and felt a new spark of motivation. Yet, when the moment of truth arrives, you hesitate, letting time slip away. The stakes are high. Every day's delay chips at your self-belief, feeding a cycle that can cost you not only professional strides, but the very essence of a fulfilling life. The question remains, how do we turn Stoic philosophy into a daily shield against the countless excuses and distractions that tempt us into postponement? Let us make this personal. It's not just about accomplishing more tasks, it's about reclaiming autonomy over your own life. You risk spending years in a state of almost doing, forever waiting for that perfect alignment of mood or circumstance. Meanwhile, precious days, weeks, and months fade with little progress toward your deeper goals, whether that's writing a book, building a healthier body, nurturing a meaningful relationship, or simply living with greater presence. This is why we continue our journey, diving deeper into how Stoicism illuminates a path to consistent action and true self-discipline. By the end of this second segment, you will possess a richer, more powerful set of tools to handle the inertia that so often derails even the strongest of wills. And why listen now, in this second stage of our conversation? Because we're moving beyond theory into the heart of Stoic problem-solving. You've met the philosophy's broad strokes, embracing the finite nature of time, distinguishing what is within your control, and resisting the perfectionism that stalls you. Now, we'll refine those insights into practical methods you can weave into your schedule. Daily steps that align your mind with purposeful action instead of endless delay. These approaches stem from lessons gleaned not just from the pages of Marcus Aurelius and Seneca, but from modern individuals who've applied these teachings to real-life dilemmas. Through them, you can create a robust framework that fortifies your motivation day after day. Reassessing the landscape. Where we left off. In our previous discussion, we established that procrastination is less about poor time management and more about a mindset steeped in illusions. You came to recognize that waiting for perfect conditions is futile, that focusing too heavily on uncontrollable outcomes drains your resolve, and that accepting the brevity of life ignites a sense of urgency. Perhaps you've begun weaving some of these insights into your routine, noticing moments of greater clarity or impetus to act. Yet, for many, an undercurrent of hesitation persists. Why? Often, it's because we still tether our decisions to fleeting sparks of motivation. We tell ourselves, "I'll do it when I'm motivated," or "I just need the right mood." Stoicism encourages a different stance, one rooted in discipline that transcends emotional ebbs and flows. Emotions matter, but they should not dictate whether you fulfill your obligations or pursue your aspirations. If you are reliant on motivation alone, you'll inevitably slump back into procrastination whenever motivation wanes. The Stoic approach is to build a stable foundation that carries you through low-energy days as much as high-energy ones, ensuring consistent forward motion. Motivation versus discipline, a Stoic perspective. Picture two travelers each trying to cross a desert. One sets out only when clouds gather, providing cooler shade and a sense of relief, counting on that favorable moment to guide their trek. The other simply walks every day, covering a set distance whether the sun blazes or the clouds appear. Over time, the second traveler inevitably makes steady progress, while the first keeps waiting for just the right conditions. This desert metaphor captures how Stoics differentiate between waiting on motivation, the right moment, and cultivating discipline, acting regardless of conditions. But discipline, from a Stoic viewpoint, does not mean grim, joyless effort. It means an unwavering commitment to do what's needed for your personal evolution, even when external factors or emotional states are less than ideal. Seneca observed that we waste life by fixating on what we cannot do or what we do not feel like doing, rather than taking small, consistent strides in the now. This is the essence of discipline, summoning enough reasoned intention to proceed even if you're tired, uninspired, or daunted. To shift from motivation dependence to discipline, you can adopt a simple Stoic technique. Pre-decide your actions. For instance, if writing is central to your goal, you decide you will write for 30 minutes each morning, come what may. Whether you wake up cheerful or glum, whether you believe your ideas are brilliant or mediocre, you keep that appointment. Initially, you might resist, but over time, your mind adapts to this new normal. You rely less on fleeting sparks of motivation, forging a steady discipline muscle that expects daily action. Meanwhile, your sense of self grows stronger as you see yourself fulfilling promises to yourself. This approach channels Stoic logic. You control your dedication, not your emotional weather. Emotional states and procrastination. Stoic acceptance. Another hidden cause of procrastination is emotional discomfort. Maybe you dread a task because it triggers anxiety, or you find it tedious. So you delay, searching for a better feeling. Stoicism suggests a different path. Accept that certain tasks may be unpleasant, but do them anyway, focusing on the reason behind them. When we speak of acceptance, we do not mean apathy. We mean recognizing that discomfort is a normal part of meaningful effort. By ceasing to wait for tasks to feel easy or fun, you strip procrastination of its main excuse. Marcus Aurelius wrote that just as a vine naturally produces grapes, we naturally produce good actions aligned with reason. If pressing forward with a challenging task is rationally necessary for your goal, then to do so is simply your nature. Embracing discomfort, at least in moderate doses, is part of that process. This Stoic acceptance can be practiced daily. If you sense aversion to a specific chore, be it an honest conversation, a workout, a piece of tedious work, recognize the aversion, label it as temporary, and proceed. Let your reason overshadow your passing emotional reluctance. Of course, there are times your emotional resistance might signal deeper issues, like a misalignment with your values or an unsustainable workload. Stoicism does not counsel ignoring such signals. But if you confirm the task is valid, the Stoic approach is not to delay until you feel like it, but to do it swiftly. Each time you complete a disliked but necessary task, you reinforce your capacity to act beyond emotional whims, weakening procrastination's grip. Over months, you might find that tasks which once felt daunting now feel normal, even satisfying, as you see the tangible fruits of your discipline. Micro-commitments and minimum viable actions. A Stoic blend. Much modern advice on beating procrastination highlights the concept of just start for 5 minutes, or setting a very small initial target to break inertia. Interestingly, this dovetails neatly with Stoic thought on focusing on immediate, controllable steps. The synergy is powerful. The big challenge is broken into small, non-threatening increments that remove your typical avoidance triggers. Let's say you want to code a new app, but keep putting it off. Instead of lamenting the vast project, you commit to just writing 5 lines of code or clarifying a single function. Once you start, momentum often builds, and you exceed that minimal goal. Even if you do stop after that mini-task, you've progressed. And, more crucially, you've preserved your sense of forward motion. Stoics would highlight that you overcame the inertia in that moment. Epictetus might phrase it as, "Do what is before you well, and let the rest unfold." By slicing your tasks into micro-commitments, you no longer dread the entire mountain. You just place 1 foot forward, grounded in the Stoic principle that your energy is best spent on what you can manage now, not the daunting totality of the future. Combine this with daily reflection. At day's end, note whether you met your micro-commitment. If you did, you bank that small victory, letting it nourish your confidence. If you didn't, you calmly analyze why. Maybe you let distractions in, or you inflated the task in your mind. Then you adapt for tomorrow. The Stoic orchard thrives on these incremental successes, each small step a seed planted. Over time, the orchard brims with achievements that once seemed insurmountable. You have now reached the halfway mark of the video. I congratulate you for trying to become a better version of yourself, and I also humbly ask you to leave a comment, as it helps my channel immensely. If you do not know what to comment, just write "better every day," so I know you reached this far. And don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Also, I've linked some books on Stoicism that helped me become the man I am today, and will also help you achieve a Stoic mindset. Navigating unforeseen obstacles. Stoic persistence. Even the best plan can collide with life's unexpected turns: family emergencies, sudden job demands, health issues. Under stress, old procrastination habits can resurface, as you either feel overwhelmed or justify postponement just until things calm down. Stoicism, once again, helps by clarifying that you still control how you use the available time. If your schedule is upended, you might scale back your commitments but not discard them entirely. Suppose you aimed to practice guitar an hour daily. A crisis might cut that to 15 minutes. But by not letting the habit vanish, you maintain continuity. This resilience ensures that external chaos does not become an excuse for indefinite delay. Moreover, Stoicism fosters a mental posture that sees adversity as a testing ground for virtue. If sudden challenges derail your routine, that is precisely the moment to show determination in the face of chaos. You might recast the situation as a chance to refine your ability to act under imperfect conditions, a Stoic hallmark. By continuing in some capacity, you guard against the all-or-nothing mentality that so often triggers complete backslide. Indeed, partial adherence to your plan during tough times can spark surprising pride and confidence, proving you are no fair-weather disciple of discipline. Overcoming the just this once excuse. A persistent pitfall is the just this once, I'll skip it rationale. You convince yourself that one day of procrastination or one missed commitment is trivial. While it's true that life is flexible, Stoic awareness warns that each small surrender can accumulate into a pattern. Seneca described how repeated small indulgences eventually form entrenched habits. The Stoic approach is not to be tyrannical with yourself, but to weigh each action's long-term effect on your discipline. If you do occasionally skip something, do so with conscious intention, not self-deception. Then resolve not to let that slip become a new baseline. In practice, you might say, I accept skipping today's workout if truly necessary, but I will double-check that it's not mere avoidance. And tomorrow, I return to the routine without fail. This clarity prevents just this once from mutating into, why not tomorrow too? You remain in control, deciding consciously rather than passively drifting. The Stoic orchard analogy returns. Missing one watering session might not kill the tree, but repeated negligence can. So, if you do skip, you remain mindful of the bigger picture, ensuring that you do not sabotage progress by normalizing small lapses. The role of rewards and Stoic celebration. People often ask whether Stoics oppose external rewards, like treating yourself after completing a milestone. Historically, the Stoics frowned on lavish indulgences or letting pleasure overshadow virtue. However, moderate, thoughtful rewards that reinforce beneficial habits can be consistent with Stoic ideals, provided you do not become a slave to them. The difference lies in motive. Are you bribing yourself, or are you mindfully encouraging consistent effort? For instance, if you decide that after finalizing a challenging chapter of your book, you'll enjoy a simple walk in nature or a quiet cup of tea, that can be a healthy form of positive feedback. You are not seeking ephemeral delight as the main driver, but acknowledging your accomplishment in a manner aligned with calm self-respect. This small ritual of recognition can bolster morale, especially in the early stages of dismantling procrastination. Over time, you may find that the act itself suffices as its own reward. Simply knowing you followed through affirms your Stoic character. But so long as the external treat remains modest and does not overshadow your deeper motivations, it can be a harmless and even helpful tool. Realigning your surroundings, minimizing procrastination. Cues. Even the strongest Stoic mindset can be taxed by an environment saturated with the triggers that promote delay. Perhaps your workspace is cluttered, or your phone brims with addictive apps. A Stoic approach suggests intentionally shaping your physical and digital surroundings to reduce friction for productive tasks and increase friction for distractions. For example, if you aim to read or write, keep your workspace clean, your needed materials easily accessible, and relegate your phone to another room. This environment design parallels the Stoic principle of removing unnecessary temptations that can corrode your resolve. The orchard caretaker does not rely solely on mental discipline. He also fences out the pests. Another environment hack might be scheduling internet access only at certain times, so you are not constantly bombarded. If your goal is to do an hour of deep work in the morning, block all online notifications or place your router out of immediate reach so that mindless browsing becomes inconvenient. This method is not about distrust in your Stoic discipline, but acknowledging we are all human and benefit from wise structures that safeguard our focus. Over weeks, these environment tweaks merge seamlessly with your Stoic principles, forming a powerful dual system: internal discipline plus an external setup that supports your aims. Handling social pressures and shared spaces. A big challenge arises if you share a home or workspace with others who do not share your Stoic fervor for discipline. They may unwittingly sabotage your attempts to resist procrastination, urging you to chat, watch shows, or engage in distractions. Stoicism's guidance is to politely but firmly communicate your boundaries. You might say, "Between 9 and 10 a.m., I focus on my tasks. Let's talk afterward." You do not blame them for wanting to socialize, nor do you scold them. You simply stand by your orchard's needs, trusting that reason and calm repetition of your boundaries will eventually create mutual respect. Sometimes friction persists. Maybe a roommate or coworker mocks your strictness or tries to lure you into time-wasting gossip. Stoicism reminds you that you cannot control their attitude, only your response. If mockery arises, you remain unoffended. If they persist, you step away or restate your stance. Over time, you become known as someone who is politely but decisively uninterested in idle chatter when important tasks call. This unwavering posture can earn quiet respect, even if grudgingly. Meanwhile, your orchard remains on track, unscathed by the storms of social expectations. A Stoic strategy for periods of low motivation. Consider the scenario where your energy dips. You might wake feeling listless or under the weather. The Stoic path stands firm. You do not cede the entire day to procrastination. Instead, you scale your tasks to your capacity. If you aimed for 2 hours of focused writing, maybe you do 30 minutes. This partial fulfillment respects your current limitations, but prevents the all-or-nothing pitfall. Afterward, you rest, satisfied that you did not fully abandon your discipline. The orchard might receive less watering on that day, but it receives some, and that can keep it alive and growing. Furthermore, Stoics emphasize that even minimal progress can sustain momentum. Accepting that not every day is peak productivity is liberating. You remove the guilt that might otherwise keep you from acting at all. By replacing an absolutist mindset with a Stoic acceptance of fluctuation, you ensure that procrastination doesn't reclaim your habits whenever your mood dips. The subtle power of contemplating the alternatives. Another potent Stoic exercise for quelling procrastination is to envision the consequences of continued delay. Ask yourself, if I do not act now, what might my life look like a year from today? This is not a fear tactic, but a rational reflection of potential outcomes. Seneca would have us realize how ephemeral life's opportunities are. By glimpsing a future weighed down by regrets and undone tasks, you harness a constructive urgency. This technique is akin to negative visualization, picturing what you risk losing if you do not embrace the present challenge. The Stoic orchard thrives best when you are aware of the shadows that loom if you neglect its care. Conversely, you can also envision the orchard's lush state if you maintain discipline. That hopeful image may energize you further, complementing the cautionary reflection on missed chances. Between these two visions, regret or fulfillment, you find renewed incentive to choose the latter now. Drawing all threads together, a daily template for Stoic self-discipline. We have explored a tapestry of concepts. To wrap up this second part of our journey, let me propose a concise daily template fusing the Stoic approach with anti-procrastination strategies. 1. Morning vision. 5 minutes. Upon waking, remind yourself of life's brevity. Identify 1 or 2 key actions you often postpone. Commit to beginning them, even in small increments. Embrace the notion that waiting for the perfect moment is futile. 2. Work sprints. Use short focused intervals for your major tasks. Accept potential discomfort or lack of motivation. Start anyway, guided by Stoic acceptance that you control your effort, not your mood. If you sense avoidance creeping in, reduce the task scope until it feels minimally daunting. Then proceed. 3. Boundary setting. If you share space with others or are prone to digital distractions, plan how you will keep these to a minimum during your sprint. Politely inform people, silence notifications, arrange your environment. If urges to check your phone arise, recall Stoic discipline. Your orchard requires consistent watering. 4th midday. Check. Briefly reflect on the morning. Did you do what you promised? If yes, celebrate a small win. If no, identify the slip. Was it an emotional block, a random distraction, or lack of clarity? Adjust for the afternoon. The Stoic orchard caretaker constantly monitors conditions, never waiting until it's too late to salvage the day. 5. Scaling or persisting. If you're low on energy, scale down tasks but do not abandon them. If possible, keep the same schedule, just lighten the load. A Stoic remains consistent. If new obstacles appear, adapt calmly. Perhaps you do half as much but do it well, preserving the chain of discipline. 6th evening reflection. Spend a few minutes journaling. Which tasks did you face head-on? Which did you stall, and why? If procrastination slipped back, no self-condemnation. Just note the cause. Then reaffirm tomorrow's plan. Let the sense of incremental progress feed your determination. 7. Occasional negative visualization. Once or twice a week, briefly imagine your life a year from now if you keep procrastinating. Reflect on the sadness or frustration that might bring. Then envision the alternative, how your orchard might blossom if you remain stoic in your discipline. The contrast can be galvanizing. Concluding this second chapter, poised for consistent action. As we end this part of our conversation, you stand equipped with a robust framework. You know how Stoics treat motivation versus discipline, how acceptance of discomfort liberates you from emotional blocks, and how micro-commitments anchor immediate, tangible progress. You've seen how to handle low-energy days, how to integrate small, structured intervals, and how reflection cements each day's learning. By weaving these threads together, you begin to reshape your entire approach to tasks. No longer cowering behind excuses, but meeting your responsibilities and aspirations with calm resolve. Yet, you might still face lingering questions. What if fear of failure is deeply rooted, or your environment truly unsupportive? Our final part of this series will address such deeper or more complex barriers, merging them with advanced Stoic insights to ensure you can sustain this new discipline long term. For now, reflect on the possibility that by adopting these strategies, you've already taken leaps beyond the average struggle with procrastination. The orchard is prepared for flourishing. All that remains is consistent tending, watering daily with Stoic perspective, pruning away new excuses as they sprout. So do not delay. Put at least one of these approaches into practice today. Pick a small but meaningful task you have been postponing. Start, even for 5 or 10 minutes, no matter your mood. Embrace the Stoic humility that it need not be perfect. Then see how your mental state shifts once you break that first barrier. soon you'll taste the quiet satisfaction that arises from refusing to yield to procrastination's illusions. And once that satisfaction deepens, momentum blooms, setting the stage for the final lessons in our upcoming segment. There, we'll culminate in a holistic plan to integrate Stoic discipline into every corner of your life, ensuring you not only stop procrastinating, but truly start living with unshakable purpose. What if everything you've done so far to combat procrastination was only the beginning? What if there's a way to lock in these changes so firmly that delay no longer holds power over you, no matter the circumstance? The stakes here are enormous. Even after you've taken meaningful steps to implement Stoic discipline, life's unpredictabilities can sneak up on you. Stressful weeks at work, unexpected family obligations, sudden bouts of low energy or self-doubt. Without a final layer of resilience, you risk sliding back, losing the ground you so carefully gained. That's precisely why, in this closing chapter, I'll show you how to fortify your practice of Stoic anti-procrastination at a deeper level, transforming it into a stable, lifelong habit that thrives even under pressure. No doubt you've seen glimpses of success by now. You've attempted shorter tasks, refused to wait on ideal moods, or structured your days more mindfully. Perhaps you've caught yourself in the act of delaying and gently redirected your focus to immediate action. Yet a question lingers. How do I sustain this for years, not just weeks? After all, it's one thing to spark a new mindset. It's another to keep that spark aflame when times grow hectic. That's where the deeper roots of Stoicism come into play, guiding you to approach every fresh challenge with the same calm determination that overcame your initial procrastination. By the end of this segment, you'll have a robust Stoic system for preserving momentum, recovering swiftly from missteps, and weaving your discipline so tightly into your identity that procrastination finds no easy foothold. Why trust these final words? Because they're drawn from the most enduring Stoic lessons on facing adversity, from real modern experiences that validate these ancient insights, and from the universal logic that says your greatest battles are often fought in the quiet repetition of daily choices. My objective is to ensure you don't merely become an occasional conqueror of delay, but rather someone who, day in and day out, protects your orchard of growth, free from the vines of procrastination. Our plan. First, we'll delve into how to handle complex emotional hurdles that can trigger relapse. Then, we'll examine the role of higher purpose and moral aspiration as a defense against sliding back into inertia. Next, we'll confront the inevitable setbacks and how to respond stoically, ensuring they serve as stepping stones rather than stumbling blocks. Finally, we'll weave all these elements into a cohesive blueprint for living out your Stoic discipline indefinitely. Revisiting the Elders' Library, a last gathering of resolve. Picture yourself once more entering that hushed library you visited at the start of this journey. The same elder Stoic is there, sitting in a chair near the window, where sunlight filters through dust motes dancing in the air. He's poised to speak, sensing your progress, yet also your lingering uncertainties about maintaining the strides you've made. His voice resonates with calm gravity. My friend, you have come far in dispelling illusions that once fueled your habit of putting life on hold. You've discovered that waiting for perfect conditions is futile, that daily reflection and purposeful action override fleeting moods. Yet, I sense you wonder how to make these changes permanent, how to remain stalwart when adversity tempts you back into old patterns. That is natural. Progress stirs new challenges. The Stoics knew that life's storms never cease, they only change form. Perhaps you face a surge of responsibilities that compress your schedule, or an emotional setback that robs your gusto. Perhaps success lulls you into complacency, sapping the vigilance you built. In each scenario, procrastination can reemerge. The orchard you've carefully nurtured can still suffer neglect if you forget your daily duty. But do not despair. Stoicism is not a transient fix. It's a worldview that endures if you keep its flame alive. We shall, in these closing words, explore the deeper resilience, a resilience that cements your discipline no matter the shifting winds. We'll see how to handle emotional triggers more intricately, how to root your tasks in moral purpose that transcends short-term motivations, and how to transform every setback into a lesson that refines your practice. He leans back, hands folded, as though encouraging you to relax yet remain alert. Let us then embark on this final leg of our journey, a journey of consolidation, ensuring the orchard you've tilled does not wither unguarded. True mastery of procrastination arises not in fleeting bursts of discipline, but in the steady, unwavering stance that Stoic philosophy can provide. Facing emotional hurdles. Stoic wisdom on anxiety, doubt, and fatigue. Even after weeks of improved discipline, deeper emotional tides can still threaten your progress. Anxiety about an upcoming performance, doubt about whether your efforts truly matter, or simple mental fatigue that dulls your zest. Stoicism offers not a magic cure, but a proven lens to recast these feelings so they do not derail you. 1. Anxiety might whisper, "What if I fail and regret investing all this effort?" Stoics respond by highlighting that the only genuine regret is failing to act in alignment with virtue and reason. Outcomes are beyond your dominion. If you shrink from action due to outcome-focused fear, you effectively sabotage your own potential. By adopting Epictetus' stance, focus on the part that belongs to you. You ease anxiety's hold. You do your best, letting external results unfold. The orchard thrives when you water it daily, no matter if storms come or yields vary. 2. Doubt can arise, asking, "Is all this discipline truly worth it? Will these tasks lead anywhere meaningful?" Stoics encourage you to root each task in your personal or moral vision, so even mundane chores connect to a higher purpose. If you see your daily writing or training as part of forging your best self, or as an offering to those you serve, doubt finds less ground to stand on. The orchard's caretaker doesn't question every day if tending the trees matters. He knows it does, because growth is a principle worth serving in itself. 3. Fatigue, the sense of being mentally or physically drained, often triggers relapse into procrastination. The Stoic approach is acceptance plus adaptation. Accept that some days your energy is low, so you scale tasks but do not abandon them. You might pivot to a lighter to-do list or do less intense study, but you still do something. This minimal action keeps the habit alive, preserving your orchard from total neglect. Over time, strategic rest plus Stoic moderation yields renewed vigor, preventing the all-or-nothing mindset that fosters procrastination. Binding tasks to a higher moral purpose. One of the most potent ways to safeguard discipline is to link your tasks to virtues or ideals that you find inherently meaningful. For instance, if your goal is to learn a new skill, you can frame it not just as personal ambition, but as an act of self-improvement that fosters resilience, a Stoic virtue. If you're dedicating yourself to regular exercise, You see it as a form of self-respect and gratitude for the body you inhabit, rather than mere vanity. By interweaving each action with a moral or existential reason, you transcend the superficial motivations that can fade. Seneca often wrote about how trivial tasks become weighty when performed in service of a grander philosophical aim. If writing daily fosters clarity, which in turn helps you serve your community or share wisdom, that knowledge can override momentary laziness. Indeed, when your orchard's growth benefits not just you, but those around you, your duty to cultivate it grows even stronger. This communal or moral dimension acts as a bulwark against the all-too-human tendency to slack off. You realize that the orchard is not solely for your private enjoyment. It nourishes others too, whether through shared insights, better leadership, or a kinder presence. That realization invests your discipline with a sense of moral obligation that is more robust than personal desire alone. Confronting major setbacks, Stoic resilience in action. Even the best-kept orchard can experience hailstorms or pest infestations, a metaphor for life's significant disruptions that test your newly formed discipline. Examples include a major personal loss, an illness, a job upheaval, or an unforeseen financial crunch. When these arise, old procrastination patterns might roar back as you struggle under stress. Stoicism equips you to remain calm, assessing how best to adapt. You do not cling rigidly to your previous schedule if circumstances radically shift. Instead, you refine your approach to fit new realities, all while preserving the spirit of daily progress. If you face a crisis that demands more of your time, you might reduce but not discard your discipline. Perhaps you do micro-sessions in your car during lunch breaks, or shift your writing to early mornings. The essence is not letting external chaos nullify your Stoic stance. Indeed, adversity can highlight the true worth of discipline. It becomes a stabilizing force in a shaky environment. You notice that continuing small efforts, even amid turmoil, grounds you psychologically, reminding you that your sense of purpose is not wholly at the mercy of external storms. Over time, as the crisis abates, you can rebuild a fuller routine, proud that you never abandoned the orchard fully. In some severe cases, you might not manage any routine tasks for a short spell. Stoicism, however, advises against beating yourself up. Instead, practice gentle self-acceptance. Once you regain bandwidth, you reestablish your orchard. Each day is a fresh slate, and if tragedy forced a hiatus, that break does not define you unless you let it. This Stoic resilience ensures that even large setbacks do not become permanent derailments. The orchard might go untended for a season, but you return as soon as feasible, guided by your unwavering moral compass. The enemy within, guarding against self-sabotage. While external upheavals can spark procrastination, so too can your own internal saboteur. Sometimes success itself triggers fear or imposter syndrome, leading you to stall your forward motion. Or, ironically, comfort lulls you into complacency. "I've done enough for now," you say, drifting from your discipline. Stoicism wards off such sabotage by reminding you that growth is a continual process, not a single milestone. If you sense fear or apathy creeping in, you can respond with daily reflection, naming the emotion plainly. "I feel uncertain about sustaining my success, so I delay." The Stoic does not hide from this revelation. Instead, you dissect it rationally. Is the fear factual or an overblown narrative? Then you refocus on the immediate step at hand, reaffirming that your orchard's care is never complete. It is a living cycle. Self-sabotage can also surface through sudden treats you lavish on yourself for no real reason, skipping your disciplined plan under the guise of, "I deserve a break." A Stoic might question that assumption. Do I truly deserve to undermine my progress? Or is this moment calling me to reaffirm the virtue of consistency? By confronting the logic behind each act of sabotage, you unravel its hold. Over time, self-sabotage loses its covert power, replaced by a calm rationality that sees immediate gratification for what it is, often a disguised form of procrastination. Freed from illusions, you choose the path that aligns with your deeper aims. Progress over perfection, embracing imperfection, avoiding burnout. One risk in forging rigorous discipline is that you swing from procrastination to perfectionism. You might push yourself relentlessly, never satisfied with partial success, or punishing yourself for minor slips. Stoics caution that extremes undermine balance. True discipline does not mean you must operate at peak output every hour. It means you consistently strive to do what's necessary while respecting your well-being. If you find yourself teetering toward burnout, step back and reevaluate. Is your orchard overplanted with tasks, leaving no space for rest or reflection? Remember, Stoic tranquility is grounded in knowing how to moderate. Seneca advised that overexertion for the sake of vanity or external measures is as misguided as sloth. The orchard, after all, grows best when nurtured in proportionate intervals. If you push so hard that you resent your tasks, you risk a rebound into massive procrastination. So let Stoic reflection guide you each evening to ensure your pace is sustainable. If you realize you're nearing burnout, scale back intentionally, prioritizing the tasks of highest importance and granting yourself well-earned rest. This Stoic equilibrium ensures that discipline remains a friend, not a tyrant. Adopting a long-view, Stoic legacy. Thinking, sometimes the daily grind can obscure why you started this anti-procrastination journey. Another potent Stoic tactic is to think in terms of legacy, how you wish to be remembered, or the mark you hope your life's work will leave. Marcus Aurelius frequently reminded himself that all we do echoes beyond our immediate hours. Our actions, or lack of them, shape not just our personal outcomes, but the broader tapestry of human endeavor. By recalling that your daily discipline contributes to something greater than ephemeral comfort, you amplify your resolve. The orchard is not for you alone. It can feed future generations with the fruit of your accomplishments or the example you set. This perspective can banish trivial excuses. When confronted with a dull but necessary step, you remind yourself, in the grand scheme of my legacy, is it not worthwhile to see this through, to uphold the principle I claim to value? This moral impetus often outshines any fleeting temptation to postpone. Over time, you craft a personal ethos. I am the sort of person who does what he says he will do, because that fosters the legacy of integrity I believe in. That self-definition, anchored in Stoic reflection, fosters a quiet pride that repels procrastination. It's no longer about finishing a random chore. It's about living up to the person you choose to be in the world's unfolding story. Bringing it all home, a final blueprint for lifelong freedom from delay. Now, at the culmination of our conversation, we gather every strand into a single tapestry, one that can guide you indefinitely, ensuring that your orchard remains well tended and that procrastination stays at bay. 1. Morning reflection and commitment. Each dawn, you reaffirm that life is fleeting, and your moral duty is to make earnest use of the day. You set realistic micro-goals for crucial tasks, acknowledging any emotional reluctance but choosing action regardless. 2. Structured work intervals plus Stoic acceptance. You break tasks into intervals, seizing each block with equanimity. If discomfort arises, you remind yourself that you control only your effort, not the outcome or your mood. You act anyway, letting discipline reign over passing feelings. 3. Midday. Check-in. You briefly pause around midday, scanning your actions so far. If you drifted into delay, you identify why, fear, distraction, or external chaos, then adjust. This calibration prevents small missteps from accumulating into a lost day. 4. Daily evening. Reflection. In the quiet of the evening, you look back with a Stoic eye. Did you align your deeds with your values? Did you let illusions of comfort overshadow your orchard's needs? If so, you accept the slip, learn the lesson, and vow to do better tomorrow. You also celebrate what you achieved, reinforcing your confidence. 5. Emotionally informed, not driven. When anxiety, doubt, or fatigue surfaces, you name it calmly and decide on minimal forward steps rather than ceding the day. You let reason speak louder than fear, but you remain compassionate if you must scale back in times of extreme stress. This approach ensures you neither crush your spirit nor indulge your weaker impulses. 6. Adaptation in crisis. If major upheavals arise, you do not discard your Stoic discipline. You adapt, maybe shifting to smaller tasks or different time slots, but you keep the chain of discipline alive, preserving your orchard amid the storm. 7. Moderation to prevent burnout. You maintain a balanced load, never letting perfectionism warp your discipline into self-punishment. You watch for signs of exhaustion, adjusting to preserve a sustainable rhythm of effort and rest. This Stoic moderation wards off the backlash of all-or-nothing extremes. 8. High-level purpose. Periodically, you reflect on the legacy you wish to leave, the moral or communal impact of your consistent discipline. This transforms daily tasks from mundane chores into expressions of a larger philosophical mission. The orchard thrives, and in time yields fruit that enriches not just you, but others who witness or benefit from your achievements. When each element fuses into your routine, procrastination loses its stronghold. Yes, fleeting temptations to delay may arise, but they wither under the Stoic gaze, a gaze that says, "My life is too precious to waste on avoidance. My mind is strong enough to act now, even if conditions are imperfect." Over weeks, months, years, you forge an identity as someone who moves through tasks with calm determination, rarely dithering or drifting. The orchard stands as a testament to how Stoic discipline, once internalized, can sculpt your destiny. A final blessing of courage and constancy. Let me finish with a blessing drawn from the Stoic heart. May you greet each dawn with clear intent, recalling that time's river flows swiftly. May you tackle your tasks not clinging to illusions of perfect readiness, but trusting in the power of small, consistent efforts. May setbacks or emotional tides find you ready, unwavering in your choice to do what you can, here and now. And if any day you stumble, as all humans do, let the Stoic light guide you to reflect without self-condemnation, then rise anew. In that cycle, aim, act, adapt, reflect. You embody the very spirit of Stoicism, a spirit that annihilates procrastination at its root and ushers in a life of quiet strength and continuous growth. Having traversed these lessons, you stand prepared to carry them beyond these words and into your everyday existence. The orchard is now yours to cultivate. No external force, no fleeting mood need hamper your will. Let the seeds of Stoic discipline blossom within, forging a future in which you no longer wait to live, but seize each moment for the genuine pursuit of virtue, achievement, and service. Stop procrastinating. Start living. This is no empty slogan, but a lived reality for those who maintain the Stoic path with sincerity and perseverance. May that path open wide before you, and may your orchard flourish in full, bearing fruit for the life you've always sought but once delayed. You need not delay any longer. Embrace the day, the hour, the minute, and let your actions flow from Stoic composure. Thus ends our conversation, but your story of disciplined, vibrant living continues from here. Now, if any part of this message has been helpful to you, leave us your like and comment, helping the algorithm recommend it to someone who needs it at this time. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss new videos. And if you look through the videos we've already uploaded, you're sure to find something to take with you. Have a good day.